So hi, in this lesson, I'm gonna show you how you can upload your first data into Databricks. So in order to do that, we first will create a database that hosts this data. Remember from the previous lessons that by default, Databricks has a default database. So if you didn't specify any database and say just create a table, the table will by default go to the default database. What we want to do in this example is create our own database so we can pretty much organize the data in one database that we have. The database that I'm going to use is called the Titanic database, which is a very common database from if you are a data scientist, you know the Titanic. It's a very common data set where it has the passenger names of all the people who were onboarded to the Titanic. And we're gonna load this data into a database, right? And start working with it. So first we need to get the data. So I'm gonna go to Kaggle. Uh, Actually search Google for Kaggle Titanic. So you'll see the first result here, Titanic, machine learning from a disaster. And if you don't have a Kaggle account, you just need to create an account. I already logged in with my account. So I'm gonna go to data here and scroll down. There is databases here. So sorry, data sets, data test and training. Data is usually split into two pieces, which is good for our case. So I'm gonna go to the training. It has this data I'm gonna download, and also the test I'm gonna also download. So we've got two downloaded files. You go back to Databricks, and really the easiest way of all to upload data to Databricks is just to go to the home page, which is data science engineering, and literally drag this file here and leave it. That's it. So Databricks, what Databricks will do is it will create a table out of this, right? And but remember, you need to have a cluster started first to do that. Now it will tell you, okay, where are you going to store this data? This is the Metastore, which is the global place for all databases. Default database, we don't want to store it in the default database, so let's create our own database first. So we're gonna first go to workspace, we'll go to the home, and then create a notebook. So create a notebook, I'll call it Titanic loading, let's say, and it's a SQL. Yeah, I'm gonna use all of these options. So create, right? So yeah, it says, do you have any unsaved changes? No problem. So I'm gonna create. So all you're gonna do here is create database Titanic. That's it. Attach it to my personal compute. That's it. Shift and enter, run it. So it should create a new database called Titanic. Now we have a new database called Titanic created. So if you go to data here, you should see Titanic and it's empty. All right, so let's go back to the home page, data science and engineering, right? Drag the Titanic training table, drop it here. Perfect. So we have it here, everything going so. Now I'm going to put it into the Titanic database, right? That's really the only difference that I wanted to do. So I just put it into the Titanic database. I'm going to call it train. Remember from the Medellin architecture, data is organized in 3 different layers. In our case, for simplicity, we're going to consider a layer is a table, right? So you should have a Titanic row, Titanic bronze, Titanic silver. Titanic bronze, silver, gold. So we're gonna do this. We're gonna call it Titanic train underscore bronze, because this is really the bronze data. This is data that as received, nothing we're gonna do about it, just load it, and we're gonna say create new table, right? And all you need to do is just create table, right? So this is just loading the data from your personal laptop to Databricks. There is several ways you can do that. You can upload the data. You can actually use wget command from Linux to load the data from the URL, or actually you can upload the data to Azure Blob Storage and load it from Azure Blob Storage. There is like multiple different ways where you can ingest the data into Databricks. But this is what it will do. Just load the table, read the data that you just uploaded here, put it inside Databricks, and then we'll load this data into a table that we just created. We call it the bronze table. So now we have the table here, training bronze, right? Let's do the same for the test. Again, test is still also a bronze. So, or maybe actually we'll do the test later. So let's keep it now. So we're gonna have a train table. You see here, you can have your table here. It's already going fine, right? So now we have updated. Let's test our this. So go to the workspace. We go to Titanic loading, right? Titanic loading notebook. We created a database, but just if you're gonna run this command again, you'll see there is an error, right? Database is already created. So you better do a create or replace, right? Or this is, well, if the database exists, it will replace it. If you want to keep the existing, you should use if not exists. Create database if not exists. Like this. So if you run, it should run fine. Because the database exists, doesn't do anything about it. So now let's select asterisk from Titanic. You see, I pressed a tab. When I press the tab, it auto-complete. Titanic, and then train, again press tab, should see, yeah, so training, let's go bronze, click enter. Oh, SQL table, okay, I think I misspelled the table name. So Titanic, oh, train underscore bronze. Okay, so train underscore bronze. So now I'm gonna load the table just in memory, right? Basically, so I'm gonna load the table. So it's all loaded here, and I can see everything here works fine. And so we just loaded our first table to Databricks. So now if you have something on your local machine, just go to the home page, drag and drop it. I think it supports up to 100 megabyte files. If you're gonna go bigger than this, maybe you can use different ways to do that. But let's say for the most of the part, for training purposes, your data set will be most likely in a megabytes, maybe less than 100 megabytes or so. So that's it. We